Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is the Our Turf Football Podcast. I am Dana O'Gorman. Every single week, I feel like we say, oh my God, what a week. Like, I feel like I'm like a broken record at this point, but holy crap, what a week. Like, it was insane. I'm really loving this season. I know not everyone loves chaos football, but I'm really loving this season so much. All right, everyone, welcome. Like I said before, we are the Our Turf Football Podcast. Joining me is Kate. She's having to join us from her phone, so we're going to give her a little grace there because her internet went out. Dang it, anyway. So she's hanging out with us on her phone. I appreciate the effort, Kate. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm over my football team's performance this weekend, and I'm on to the next week. But there is still a whole bunch of fun and crazy and wild stuff to talk about today. So,
oh my gosh, it's so true.
And I have 3. They all won this week. I mean, nice. I'm just saying. I might have played someone here in the room.
I have a feeling you're talking to our friend Michelle, the sports jinx. She is joining us as Sonia. And I want to give a kudos to Lisa really quick, Michelle, before we chat. Lisa got on a bus and went to go help out with hurricane relief. So she went from northern Florida to southern Florida, and God love her for it. So if you guys are on Twitter, you guys know Lisa, give her a shout out for going and helping the hurricane victims. I think that is wonderful. So thank you, Lisa, for being so good, for sure.
Cool but that she works for sent her there so that the employees in the hurricane affected areas can stay with their families and work on dealing with everything they have to deal with.
Yep.
They asked for volunteers from other places to come in and help out. And so that's pretty cool too.
That is really, really cool. So kudos to them. But in her stead, we have my Michelle. That's what I call her, my Michelle. She's my favorite. Miss Michelle Jinx, the sports jinx on Twitter. Michelle, how are you, darling?
How privileged am I to be on with Dana for the first time ever? Oh my goodness.
You know, that's
we got
true.
To hang out once.
Fill in for you when you're out of town.
I know. I know she does. I know. I'm excited too. We might just chit chat for hours. People hunker in. We're gonna chat. No, I'm just kidding. So this week, go ahead.
When you're filling in for Lisa, you have to talk about quarterbacks the whole time.
No, I'm ready. I came in here to represent Lisa, even though defense is my thing. But
that's
hey,
right. That's why she sits in for me, so we cannot talk about.
And we can't our friends at Donkeys.
No, I wasn't going to. They were next on my list. We want to, of course, thank our sponsor, Donkeys Cheesesteak. They are in New Jersey, people. But I will tell you, I am loving the response that their ads that we put out are getting. People are like, damn, you're making me hungry. Like the food looks so good. And they're having such a good time with it. 3 locations in New Jersey, Medford, Mount Holly, and Camden. Go check them out. They are, if you are up in that area, please, it would be great. So kudos to Donkeys. They're loving the love, people. They're loving the love. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to start with injuries this week. There seem to be a couple of teams that are really snake bit with injuries. There's a couple of teams that just got hammered. I remember last year, Kate, we talked a lot about how it seemed to be ACL after ACL after ACL. And it's not the ACLs this year. It's broken bones this year. We've had some gruesome breaks this year, but week 4 was not kind to a lot of these teams.
It was not. And I'm looking at the injury reports for this week. The Jaguars are in the best shape with only 5 guys on their injury report. When I look at who is my favorite team to look at? Oh, the Colts. We'll get to the Colts. The Browns have the most people on IR. They have 7. And I think 3 of them were centers.
Right.
The Broncos have 20 people on their injury list this week, 12 questionable, 5. They have this new thing now, so you can put them on. There are some guys they put on IR, and then there are other guys that they just list as out for the season or out indefinitely. And so I'm not sure. The only difference I can come up with between IR and out for the season is with IR, you can return after a certain period of time, maybe. But some of these guys are not going to be, they're not going to be back. What was troubling this week, and we'll get to the head injuries, was the number of guys who were put on IR. For the Seahawks, it was Travis Homer. For the Packers, it was Sammy Watson. With the Chargers, Joey Bosa. With the Giants, Sterling Shepard. And that's going to hurt because he and Daniel Jones kind of had a little rhythm going on.
They
and then
really did.
With the Titans, Taylor Lewan. I mean, and just from a regular injury standpoint, Jonathan Taylor went out at the end of the fourth quarter for the Colts. Test results all came back really good, so they've got him listed as questionable this week. But Javonte Williams, the running back for the Denver Broncos, has a knee out, and he's out indefinitely. It looks like if you have him on your fantasy team, you're going to want to go look at Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon is going to be getting a whole lot of carries. Brian Hoyer suffered a head injury, quarterback for the Patriots, and little rookie Billy Zappi had to come in. And then, we could talk about what happened with Tua again this week. Tua is out again. In his latest press conference, they're saying he's still dealing with headaches. They have not set up a timetable for his return. And you're probably going to lose my video, but I have a list I have to get on my phone. These are the following players all suffered head injuries or concussions just this week. Buccaneers tight end Cameron Brate, Pittsburgh Steelers safety Terrell Edmonds, Eagles linebacker Kyron Johnson, Texans linebacker Cashman, Bills wide receiver McKenzie, Giants safety Julian Love, and then Tyrod Taylor. So the number of head injuries this week is crazy, and it'll be interesting to see if they react on the cautious side and keep these guys out a couple weeks just to make sure they're okay. 10 people had to leave the games to go get evaluated for concussions this week. 10. It's been brutal. And I think Falcons, Cordarrelle Patterson, stayed
IR.
in the game, but he got evaluated, I guess, afterwards and then had surgery, and they've got him on IR. So it's like, it was crazy.
It was crazy. And I saw this very disturbing tweet. It bothered me tremendously. It said, well, there's all these head injuries because now they're trying to make up for Tua. That is not what's happening, people. These are legitimate head injuries, and maybe they are being more cautious. Thank God, right? I'm glad that they're being more cautious for sure. Michelle, by the way, Michelle did lose on fantasy football, and I had Williams on fantasy football, and I'm not replacing him with Melvin Gordon because Melvin Gordon had negative points this week.
I have Melvin. You can't have him anyway. I have him.
I don't want him.
That's why my team keeps losing. I have all the backup.
You look at a couple of these teams. The Rams were another one, Michelle. I think they were on their fifth string offensive linemen at some point. Fourth and fifth stringer. I mean, that's the 7 sacks on Matt Stafford in the Monday night game. The same thing is happening with the Chargers. It feels early to me for all of these injuries. Do you think, especially with the headache, with that concussions and that sort of thing, do you think it's an abundance of caution, or do you think that it's just a weird year?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think with everyone watching Tua have a concussion in the first game, not being able to stand up, going back out there and playing, and then coming 4 days later in the Thursday games that I don't like, and playing again. Everyone saw what happened, and so they have to be overly cautious now because obviously you guys can see someone stumble and fall and can't stand up and still put them back on the game if they say that it's the back. Well, he never grabbed his back, so so that's what. And I think just for now, because the heat is on the NFL and the Dolphins, that they have to be overly cautious with, particularly the head injuries. I think the most alarming thing for me with all of the injuries that have happened is the number of quarterbacks that are out.
Yeah. That is a huge
huge talking
number.
About 9 quarterbacks, and maybe 7 of those were starters. We're talking about starting quarterbacks and a couple of backups, but all of these quarterbacks that are out, when you talk about Tua and Matt Jones, Dakota, Russell had an injury. He may be out. Jameis Winston, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, those are starters. We're talking about people who are supposed to lead these teams. And now you're having to play your backups, and some teams are even on their third, or their kickers are the quarterback. So, we're having, I think that is the biggest thing for the league, because the quarterbacks is what sells. It's offense that gets it going. And when you look at these games, and I think we talk about this all the time, well, at least I do anyway, about the changes in the rules and with the practicing and things like that, and now the preseason games that everybody thinks they shouldn't play. I personally think these things have something to do with the injuries. When you don't play, this is a contact sport, and you cannot just go out there and get in training camp, practice, and play flag football, and then go out there and get hit. It's going to cause some problems, and I think that's the issue. And then the teams are going slowly. Everything happens much slower, so it takes about 4 or 5 games for everybody to get in a rhythm. And I think that's causing, and the Thursday night games, and it's causing more injuries.
I agree. I agree with you to a certain extent on that, for sure. There is something to be said for muscle memory, but the interesting thing to me here is that we've always said on this show and on this website that it takes 4 to 6 weeks really to figure out who a team is. And now it's getting hard to figure out who these teams are because they don't have their players. And so it's hard to put a finger on it. The entire NFC West is 2-2. Is that the way it should be? Hell no, it's not the way it should be. The Rams should be killing everyone. And yes, I will give the 49ers credit for having an amazing defense. But, would it be different with Trey? Would it be? And so that's not normal. It's just not been a normal year. We have another division. I can't remember. Is it your division, Kate, that also is almost everyone's at 2-2. And I think that has a lot to do with injuries. I really, really do. So it's interesting. So
to make things more exciting for the fans.
Well, that is the fair. You get to see how deep your team is at this point, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. I want to move on. And Michelle, I wanted to talk about this specifically because you were here, but I want Kate's opinion first because I want you to finish up on this. So right now, the Dallas Cowboys are 3-1. There has been a little churning, a little conversation, a little dibble dabble, shall we say, about there might be a quarterback controversy brewing in Dallas simply because Mr. Cooper Rush, goofy looking dude that he is undefeated for Dallas. I think it's asinine. I think a lot of people think it's asinine, but at the same time, Jerry Jones, they were saying, God love Jerry. Jerry gives us so much content. I love him for it. But, Dakota, as Michelle likes to call him, said, oh, yeah, I think I'm going to be able to play here pretty soon. And Jerry's like, no, I don't think you're going to. And everyone's like, oh, why does he want him to play? He says it's because he can't grip the ball. We also know with that injury, that is definitely a valid point. But at the same time, everyone's like, Kate, what do you think's going on in Dallas?
I think Jerry's protecting the lead. I think he's a proponent of the if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And right now there's a limited amount of film for defenses to study on Cooper Rush, and why not take advantage of that for as long as you can? I don't think there will be a decision when Dakota is 100% healthy, but as long as Cooper Rush keeps winning, they're not going to bring him back at 80%. If they were 0-4, he'd be like, I don't care if you're 12%, get on the field. You know what I mean? They're going to make sure Dakota is 100%, and then he'll get his job back. But for now, it's a huge thing in their favor that Cooper Rush is playing well. He's clicking with that offense, and the defenses are still not really sure what to do with him. And I think Jerry's going to ride that train.
Michelle, it is illogical to me. See, Camden just posted this in chat. Prescott to the Bucks for 2023. Here's the thing. Let's talk about how expensive that would be, shall we? Because Mr. Dak Prescott's contract is nothing to shake a stick at. So this year, his cap number for this year is 19.7. Next year, 49 million. The next year, 52 million. So they're not going to just cut him. They're too invested in this. It doesn't make sense to me, Michelle, that there's a true quarterback controversy. There just can't be with that contract and those numbers behind Dak.
Well, I love what Kate said. It just sounds so beautiful. Don't you agree?
Mhm.
But no one outside of Dallas listens to Jerry. Jerry likes to stir. He just likes to stir the pot. Those are the things that he does. That's what he does. He says things so people can talk. And if you notice, when Dakota first got injured, the doctor said 6 to 8 weeks, and Jerry said 4. And to Kate's point, we're winning, so we don't have to rush him back so that he
Right.
plays at 50%. He's not ready to play. He can't grip the ball. So, Jerry, and there is no controversy here. Let's just get this. There is no controversy. Dakota is the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, and when he's healthy, he's going to start. And shall we lose to the Rams and the Eagles, Dakota will be back out there. I mean, probably. They definitely probably want him to be there for Philadelphia, being that that's a division game. So I think that's his target, and that's always been the target, is for him to play in the Philadelphia game. But they're going to play it by ear. And Cooper's playing good. He's running the offense. He's managing the team. He's thrown for like 4 touchdowns. I mean, our MVP so far has been Brett Maher. I mean, he has 10 field goals in these games.
He has one job, and he does it well.
He does it well. I mean, without him, there are no win nor W's, because he's 10 of 11 in these 4 games. The defense hasn't given up less than 20 points each game. And Cooper's managing well. He hasn't thrown any interceptions. I'm more surprised than anyone. I said on this show that I prefer Will Greer. I thought he outplayed Cooper, but Cooper is out there doing his job, and he's managing the offense. He's scoring when we need him to score, and we appreciate it. But there is no controversy here. Dakota's going to be the quarterback, but the good thing is Cooper is allowing him to heal, and for us to not throw him out there, because he looked horrible in the Tampa game before the injury, and so we can't afford him to come out there halfway at 50% or even at 80. We want him to be close to 100 as possible when he gets out there. So as long as Cooper, even if we was to lose the next game, we beat Washington, we beat the Giants. Those are 2 teams we should be able to win with or without Dakota. We beat Cincinnati because they're struggling, but that was could have been a surprise game for some. The question is, can Cooper go out and play a defense like the Rams and the Eagles? Those are 2 different defenses that we're going to see in these next 2 weeks. And so, that'll be the test of time. But again, if he can get us through this next game and maybe the Eagles, because I think that's the game that they've targeted for Dakota to be back, because that game is so much more important.
It is. I'm fascinated and curious what this Dallas team looks like with a full season of their starting quarterback. I mean, it's been a minute since that's happened, and so hopefully, he'll get through this bump and then be able to finish out the rest of the year strong. I think that would be really good. Dallas is definitely one of my surprises. I did another podcast this morning. We were talking about the surprises 4 weeks through, and I think Dallas is really surprising. Kate, what are you doing?
Who did I pick to win that division in our Pick'em show?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Did
ma'am.
she pick Dallas?
I did, and then when Dakota got hurt, I thought, I'm done. But they're playing fine. I thought Philly would be good. I didn't think they would be this good.
They're stupid good.
Philly, for me, is sort of the wild card in this whole conversation, because if they get another loss or 2 and Philly continues to win, Jerry may feel the pressure to close that gap, because they are in your division, and you might want Dakota back for that Eagles game more than he should. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm hoping Cooper plays really well this week, so then at least it's a serious consideration of, is Dak ready or not? Not, oh my God, we have to beat the Eagles because they can't be 7 and whatever they'll be at that point. I mean, I think that when you look at what your record is compared to your division and how far you're going to have to go to catch them, that might play into it.
I personally feel like the Eagles game has always been the target. Again,
That
Jerry
would make
said
sense.
4 weeks, and they said 6 to 8. So that means somewhere in 5, and that in Philly is the 5th week. I think that's
Yeah.
been the target from day one, and they were just hoping and praying that we could win those games against the Giants and Washington with Cooper, which we did. That keeps us, as you say, close to the Eagles until we have to meet them. And so
Yeah.
I think that's always been the target. And Jerry's not going to say that because he's enjoying everybody listening to him. And so, he's going to keep on riding that horse.
I'm telling you, nobody sees Jerry Jones more clear than Michelle does. I love it. I love everything about it. It makes me so happy. Oh my gosh. Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens. And that injury, along with so many others, really are the trajectory for their teams. And so we'll have to kind of wait that out and see how that goes. It'll be an interesting next couple of weeks for sure. We started a series. Was that last week, 2 weeks ago, maybe, where we wanted to take a look at each one of the new head coaches. And it didn't have to be a first-time head coach. They were new to their team is what we decided. And we wanted to see, kind of evaluate them as the year went on, how they were doing. This week, we picked Josh McDaniel for a couple of obvious reasons. First of all, because he finally got his first win with the Raiders.
Mhm.
And against the Denver Broncos. And so that was, I just thought it was kind of a good segue to go ahead and pick him. So this is not the first time that Josh McDaniels has been a head coach. Obviously, he was the head coach of the Denver Broncos in 2009, 2010. But for the majority of his career, he has been the offensive coordinator for Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. He is without question a Belichick disciple. He likes to coach like him. He wants to do things like him. And why not, right? It's Bill Belichick. But interesting, it hasn't always worked out for him very well. When he went to the Denver Broncos, the first season he was 8-8, second in the AFC West. Not so bad. Like it wasn't terrible. And then in 2010, 3-9, and he was fired at the end of that season. So his total when he was 11 of 17 in Denver, and then he went back. But you might remember there was the weird little blip with Josh where he was going to be the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts and changed his mind literally after they announced it. That was just so much bad PR. It was just crazy. Obviously, now he has moved on. He is now the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, which is still really weird to say. And they are slowly kind of finding their footing. I thought this team was going to be a lot better than they were to start out the year with, but it seemed to take them a minute to kind of get their groove. They lost their first 3 games. They and the Texans were the only no-win team until this week when they beat the Broncos. But I always know that the talent level is there. I just was starting to question the Josh McDaniel coaching and what he had in mind for this team. Kate, when you heard about McDaniels getting this job, I will tell you, at first I was like, oh, good luck, because of the disasters that we have had with him before. And what do you think, how he's doing so far?
Well, I was the same way because, right after that Indianapolis Colts mess, pretty much for the last 20 years, we've been in a head coaching search in Cleveland. And so his name kept coming up here. And a bunch of us were like, no, don't want him. And I think the larger reason I didn't want him here is we didn't have the talent yet for what he does. And I don't see him as the kind of coach who can mentor and grow players. And I thought when they hired him, I'm like, this is probably a good call. They've got Derek Carr, they've got Hunter Renfrow, they've got a good solid veterans in that lineup, and it's an offense that he can work with. It's not a really young one that he's got to teach how to do things. And so I thought they would be more successful than they have been. I thought they would get things going quicker. Injuries have been rough for them. I did see that Renfrow was upgraded to questionable now instead of out, so maybe he'll be back this week. I know he's one of Carr's favorite targets. And they finally got a taste of winning this week, and it was they had to fight it out. It wasn't an easy. So we'll see how that goes. His system isn't as complicated as some of the stuff that Kyle Shanahan does with the play calling, like the, spider 2Y banana 678 X Bialodosha supercala 8,000 words in a play.
Like John Gruden, you mean?
Well, but Kyle Shanahan, John Gruden does the XY banana spider crap.
Oh yeah. I see what you mean. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Has,
Yeah.
there's like 1,000 words in it. You have to
Yes, he does.
you almost have to be
You
a
are
mentor candidate to be able to call his plays. Jobs are complicated, but the names of them aren't. The way you call them aren't. But the way he builds the play, just the way he layers things and teaches the offense to the players. I was afraid it would take him a couple weeks to get it. I think they are getting it. And I think a lot of improvement this week. I haven't seen any what I would call coaching mistakes. I haven't seen bad management of timeouts. I haven't seen throwing a red flag when you shouldn't. I mean, the head coaching stuff he seems to be doing that okay. It's just going to be a matter of getting that offense together and getting that offense figured out.
You make a really interesting point where you don't see him as a developer of talent. And to be honest with you, I agree. I just had never really thought of it like that. He needs those pieces in place so he can then play chess with them. And I think he was getting that in Vegas. Maybe that's why he bailed with the Colts at the last minute. He didn't think that he would be able to do that. But he did have those pieces, especially after Adams came on board. I think that he saw that. I'm not sure. The coaching style seems so different from their last head coach. Maybe that's what's just taking a while to gel. But it is fascinating. That's actually a really good point. Michelle, Bill Belichick's coaching tree has not always been the most successful. He had some struggles and his coaches have. Do you think that is just because of the control issues that Bill Belichick has and he doesn't always give them up? Is it just because they know one system and one system only? Why do you think that has been for the coaches that have come out of New England? And not all of them. I don't want to say all of them haven't been successful, but some have not.
It's hard to say. I mean, and it could be the control. More than likely, that's what it is. I mean, if you're doing everything or you're controlling everything, then you're not allowing people to grow, and you're putting people in positions and not allowing them to do what you hired them to do. I think with Josh McDaniels, because he's been the offensive coordinator and he left and then he came back, and I think he has a better opportunity probably than some to be successful. And just the fact of the roles that he's had, and then he's had a chance to be a head coach and go back and maybe see some things differently when he was there the second time. And perhaps maybe he went back to learn a few things so that he could get a better job. And just to be fair, I think he just didn't take the coach job because Carson Wentz was there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Okay. But I mean, when you look at the Raiders right now, their games, they've lost games by 5 points and 6 points and 2 points. So they're in these games. These games are close. But I think it just takes a little time. Again, in today's NFL, the first 4 games are like preseason games, kind of, sort of. Like they're still getting a feel for each other, especially when you have a new coach and you have a new offense and you have new pieces to those teams. I think the teams that are more successful are the ones who've been together. Their pieces have been in place because they don't need as much of the practice and as much of the time together to get rolling. And I think the teams that have new additions, particularly in the coaching, and you're talking about offensive coordinator because that's pretty much what Josh is, and for them to not have that time together to get everything rolling, it's taking a while. That's why you say game 4, right there, game 4, everything seemed to click a little better. So they
had that run game.
I was just about to say they utilized the run game and not relying solely on the pass. And that helped them a great deal because once they turned that game over to Jacobs, that was the ball game for them. So
it's true that you could really kind of feel it. I know, me too. What was that, Kate?
I've had this conversation about the Bill Belichick coaching tree a couple times recently because of Josh McDaniels and what's going on. And the thing that I throw out there is the vast majority of coaches that have left Belichick's staff and gone somewhere else have only coached in the NFL with Tom Brady at quarterback. And Tom Brady, love him or hate him, makes every single player on that field better, makes the defense's job easier, makes special teams easier, makes a whole lot of things easier. And some of these coaches go to another place in a new system, and they don't know how to deal with the team that isn't being lifted up by the quarterback. And I don't know that they know how to deal with that. And so while I don't take away any credit from Belichick on how good a coach he is, I will say when you have a player like Brady, for as long as he was a Patriot, and as many of these coaches went through that system with him there, I think that's why you haven't seen these coaches maybe take off the way some of the other coaching trees have, because they've really not had to deal with a lot of challenges.
Adversity. And when you go to a new team as a head coach, it's because they were bad and somebody got fired. And that is a huge challenge, and people have to be up for that challenge for sure. Yeah. That's a good point. I think Josh McDaniels will probably do fine. I think that there's enough talent on this team that I think that they'll turn it around. I think that they will probably do well within this division, which I would have told you. I did say it at the beginning of the season. I thought that they were going to beat the crud out of each other, and we're just going to see who ended up less bloodied at the end of the year. But it seems to be that the Chiefs are maybe going to run away with it, just more because of injuries than anything right now. No disrespect to the Chiefs. Relax, Chiefs fans. I know they're good. But I think that that's going to be interesting. But I do think the Raiders are going to kind of pick up steam now and get rolling a little bit. So we'll see how Josh does with this team for the rest of the year. So, Michelle, we're going to do your favorite thing.
Uh-oh.
We are going to do another round for our final segment tonight of From the Hat. I have it right here. Thank you very much, Cam Newton.
Let me stick my hand in and put.
I know. Got to get it in there. So for those of you who might be listening for the first time, From the Hat, we decided at the beginning of the season we're going to throw all 32 teams' names into a hat. And then we were going to randomly pick out names, and we were going to convince you why they were going to the Super Bowl. Didn't matter what team it was. Didn't matter if they were good or bad. We were going to tell you why we thought out of nowhere that this team could probably make it to the Super Bowl. Now I'm going to tell you, we've gone through a lot of the really bad teams already. And so we did some and then except for Sonia, who gets the Chiefs, the Bills. Right. She gets all the easy ones, right? Poor Michelle had to have the Falcons. And now look at the Falcons are actually playing well. But so I pull it right here in front of everyone. So this one, Michelle, this one's you. You're going to go first. I'm so glad I picked you. The Browns. Why are the Browns going to the Super Bowl?
Did I have the Browns?
You have the Browns.
I'm so glad it's not me.
I know. Good picking.
Well, listen, the Browns are in a division with Pittsburgh, who's struggling, right? And Cincinnati, who's struggling. And what two things wins championships? For me, defense and a running game. And no one has a better running game than the Cleveland Browns. They have the defense who can make stops. I mean, we're talking about a top defense in the NFL, but the number one running game in the NFL. And you don't really have to have an outstanding quarterback. You need to have someone who can make plays and manage the game. And then Jacoby Brissett right now he's doing pretty good. He can manage the game. He can make some plays when needed. But later down the line, they'll have another quarterback who will probably make more plays for them when he gets in. But if once you get to the playoffs, the offense slows down a little bit because you have to be able to manage the clock. You have to be able to stop, and you have to be able to run. Cleveland can pretty much run the ball with not just the two starters that they have, not just Chubb and not just Hunter. They can bring in the fellow off the bench and still run the ball. So you're talking about a team that on first and second down can pick up 7 of 10 yards just from running and make third down short. So, I don't see why they can't win the division, first of all, because, again, the other teams in the division are struggling, and they could probably get to the AFC. So I don't see why the Browns can't make it to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. And this is not going to be any Biner thing where they're going to get down to the 1 yard line and fumble. They're going all the way, baby. Chubb over the top to win the game for the Browns. That's the way they got to win it too. That's the way I want to see them win it. And dog bones all over the field. Let's go.
I will tell you. If the Browns make it to the Super Bowl, I will vomit. Okay, so there we go.
One more running plays, and then we'll have you got to actually call the running plays.
You got to call him. All right, Kate, this one is yours. Oh, jeez. This isn't fair. The Eagles.
I got the Bears last time. Give me a
Oh,
good
you
one.
did get the Bears last time. Okay, this one's easier. The Eagles.
Oh, well, they're already
I'm
4-0.
get that one.
Dakota's hurt. When he gets back, he ain't going to be what he was. They're just going to run through this division like butter, and the rest of the NFC is a hot mess. The Eagles have proven every time they get on the field that Jalen Hurts was worth everything they had to do to get him, and it makes me a little ill just because Lisa was so high on him, and I hate it when she's right, and she was absolutely right. He needed to get his and as long as he stays healthy, literally game aside, as long as he stays healthy, it's going to be hard for anyone to stop the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly, fly.
It's
Eagles.
so true.
Well,
They're so fun to watch.
Song. Ba, 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 ba.
I'm not gonna go that far, Dana, but whatever.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
I
they
got
really
you.
look
I got
good.
You.
They
I
really
know.
look good. They really,
God
you know, I
damn.
picked the Eagles to win the division. So
Yeah, I did too. Here's the thing. The Eagles are stupid good this year. That one's not even hard because they're just good. And they have two of my favorite players. I love Jason Kelce. Jason, not Travis. I love Jason Kelce. And I love Brendan Graham. So it just is hard for me to ever cheer against the Eagles. Okay. This one is mine.
I like Travis.
Travis is goofball. All right.
He follows us on Twitter. Well,
Why? You guys get the Eagles and the Browns. Dana gets the Jets. That is
Jets, Jets.
that is not fair. Oh, all right. Why are the Jets? Why are the Jets going to win? I have no idea why the Jets are going. Okay. You know why? Because of Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh is going to figure this out. He's going to look at these pieces. They're going to get their injury guys back. He's going to start to be able to fit this together a little bit. He might decide to mix in a little Flacco with a little Wilson, with a little Flacco with a little Wilson, and just throw everybody off. And you know what? The rest of that, they're not even going to win their division. The rest of that division, they could fall apart. The Bills, it could happen. I mean, anything is possible. Any given Sunday, the Jets could.
They could get a wild card and go.
Once the playoffs start, it all starts back at zero. So you never know. Here you go. Go Jets, go.
If they could score 14 points in less than 2 minutes, they can do anything.
Yes, I know. I've seen 16 points in 43 seconds. Anything is possible. And you know what? I like Robert Saleh enough to believe that he might be able to figure it out. Maybe it's possible. Anything is possible. I don't know. All right. That's my answer. Sorry, Jets. I'll try harder next time.
When it's not my turn, I love this segment.
Oh my God. It's just the worst. Thank you. We're going to mix in a little Flacco with a little Wilson. Why not? Okay. So that is our show this week.
The song Mambo number 5. A little bit of Flacco.
That's what I was thinking when she said.
It could work. It could work. You never know. They could end up being the healthiest team in the league and just run with it. You never know. It's possible.
Check my list.
Yeah.
They only have 7 people on their injury report right now and only 1 person on IR. They're actually one of the healthiest teams.
Yep, them and the Falcons.
Yeah. Is it George Fant that's on IR though?
Yes.
Yeah. I like George Fant. All right, everyone. That's our show for this. Oh, poor Graham. Graham says he cannot deal with Jets praise. Sorry, it's my job, Graham. I have to do it. I have to do it. Right.
Oh, that's right. He's a Dolphin. He's a Dolphin.
He is the Dolphins. That's right. All right, everyone. That is our show for this week. We will be back again next Tuesday, same time, same place. All of you guys that watch over on Twitter, we get so many views over on Twitter. Come and join us live on YouTube. Join our chat. We will love to have you guys, send us questions, put up comments. You can see that we share them with everyone. We love it so much. So please, don't be shy. Put them on up there in the chat. It's a lot of fun. And so join us over here on YouTube, but we do appreciate the watches over on Twitter also. Next week, it's week 5 and there's some crazy games next week. And so I think we're going to have a lot to talk about. It'll be interesting to see how this Tua situation has progressed too. So I'm sure we'll take a look into that. So we hope you join us. We will see you again right here next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Central. Good night, everybody.